Hello again, and welcome to High Ground Financial Freedom Advanced Courses. Again, this is something that I'm doing to bring to you because I want to make sure that you're getting all the financial knowledge that you need. So, today we're going to be talking about debt management. And here's the thing, debt management is critical because it's all about achieving that financial stability, right? And by taking control of your financial future, you can implement all of these strategies. But one of the main ones that holds people back is debt. And so we're going to dive real deep into debt management and really understanding what debt is all about. Because in order to defeat something, you need to completely understand it. So let's get right into it. So this is our agenda for today. We're going to go through why debt management matters, financial stress and anxiety, understanding debt and its impact, getting overall complete picture. Definitely going to go into what mortgages are, student loans, and business loans. Those are the three big ones, debt repayment strategies, and some practical steps. And then we're going to end with some action things for you all to do. So debt management is a critical aspect of achieving financial stability, like I just said. Again, take notes. As I said, in each one of these classes, pause, take breaths. You're going to see me pause. You're going to see me doing the whole 4 in, 8 out, 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out, because this is a lot. And when we're talking about debt, what we're trying to get to is not something necessarily physical around money. It's going to be physical up in here and inside of here. Okay. And you're going to come away from this understanding that debt management is so important because it has a lot to do with your mental and physical stress. So, what is debt? So, debt is all about you owing something to someone else, giving something back. Sometimes that can be a good thing. Okay. And good debt, that's generally refers to borrowing for investments. We live in a country where you can actually go to a bank, purchase a property, let's say that's foreclosed that the bank has, or purchase another property, and we're going to turn that property into Section 8. So you can take a loan from a bank, which is a government entity, take the loan from this bank, and then have the government actually pay you for that loan and put somebody in the home. And you're sitting back and you own the asset. So the bank is being paid by the government of the asset that you own. That's called good debt. Now, bad debt, that's where something depreciates. That's like your credit cards, or your vehicles. If your vehicle is not being used as a part of your business, that's bad debt. And by the end of this, you're going to have a full understanding of what good debt is and what bad debt is. So let's talk about the different types of debt. First, you're going to have what's called secured debt. This type of debt is backed by specific assets. That's your house, that's your car, that's your secured credit cards, maybe a boat, maybe an RV, something that can potentially be taken away from you if you do not pay for that asset. When I say secured credit cards, that's money that you already have inside of a bank. So if you already have assets there, then let's say you have $500 inside of a savings account, then that loan entity or that lender will give you credit up to the amount that you have in there. So if you have $500, they'll give you $500 in credit. So that is a secured credit card. But a mortgage, you have a home, auto, you have a vehicle, boat, RV, you have those entities. So if something were to happen that you cannot pay that debt back, it is secured by that physical entity. Now, your unsecured debt, credit card again, that is the revolving credit for those unsecured credit cards. That's where you get a credit card and just out of thin air, and if you went through my 16-week course, you completely understand how banks just create money out of thin air. But out of thin air, let's say it's $10,000 credit card limit. Well, you have $10,000. What is securing that $10,000? Nothing. It's just out there. So that's your unsecured credit card. Then your personal loans, student loan, medical bills, utility bills, and some of those payday loans. All of those don't have anything securing it or tying it to something. If you just default on the payment, the only thing that's going to get hindered is your stress level, your mental well-being, and definitely your credit score. That's what's going to be impacted. But again, there's nothing securing or tying that to you paying it back. So that's why they call it unsecured debt. Then you have revolving debt. So revolving debt is basically you have let's go back to that $10,000 example of credit limit on that credit card. You pay it down and then you get back to $10,000. You pay it down, you get it back. It revolves. Same thing with your home equity lines of credit. You have a home equity line of credit. That's where you have a mortgage. And let's say your mortgage is the overall payment that you owe is $200,000. And then let's say you've paid 50,000. So now you have 50,000 that you've paid into this. You go get a home equity line of credit. That means that the bank looks at your mortgage. It's 200,000 that you owed. Now you only owe 150. You have $50,000 of credit out there. So they extend you a credit to use that 50K. If you use it for whatever, paying off credit cards, buying vehicles, buying more property, well, once you pay it down, then it goes back to revolving. It goes right back around. It keeps moving. You use it, pay it down, it revolves. Same thing with a personal line of credit. You get, let's say, $20,000 from a bank. You owe 20K. Let's say you use that money for something, you pay it back down, it just revolves again. So that's where your revolving debt comes in. Something that you can pay off and then use again. Pay off, use again. It revolves. Next, you have what's called installment loans. So an installment loan is where you're going to get a large sum of money to pay for something. More than likely, the biggest one you're going to have in your lifetime is your mortgages. So you get a huge chunk of money that's going to pay for that home. Again, going back to that 200,000 example, or an auto loan, student loan, or personal loans. And we're going to get deep into each one of these. But just understand that an installment loan is where you get huge chunks of money to pay for some type of asset. Now, let's talk about financial stress and anxiety. This is what we want to get to. This is the place that we want to pay off our debt, because this is the most important thing, is taking care of your mental health. Because at the end of the day, none of the stuff that we purchase on credit or purchase that we have a physical asset, home, car, RV, we can't take any of this stuff with us when we pass away. But if you don't take care of this debt while you're on this planet, it can cause you a lot of stress and a lot of unwanted anxiety. So that's what we're really trying to get to when we're talking about debt management, just having a nice, smooth, calm life. And we don't want to take out credit. We don't want to buy things and not pay it back. It's not a good way to live. So let's now get into different types of strategies for tackling debt. And right now, since I've gone over a couple slides, I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to breathe in for 4 and out for 8. So how do we effectively tackle, or let's call it managing this debt? There are a lot of companies out there that will help you alleviate debt using complex computer algorithms, or you can use what's called the snowball method, which is paying off the lower balances first. That's going to create that momentum, keep you motivated, and then using the extra money to continue to pay down debt. The next one is called the avalanche method. In this method, you don't focus on the balance, but on the highest interest rates. And then there's the budget and prioritizing payments. So all of these are essential components in paying off debt effectively. So establishing a budget and prioritizing payments are also essential components of a successful debt repayment strategy. And if you think back to the first class, we talked about budgeting. All of this stuff is going to tie in together. And now we're going to dive deep into each one of these. So the first one I really want you to look at is what's called a snowball method. Again, this is the one that keeps you motivated the whole time, because there you see every little small win. You get to see that debt getting chopped away a little bit at a time. And this one, you're not worried about those interest rates. I know that sounds crazy, but it's very motivating to see your bills getting knocked off. And you just keep going. You just knock them off one at a time. Focus on the smallest, and then before you know it, you're you know, chasing down that big one and crushing it as well. Again, this one you do not focus on the interest rate, but it is effective. The next one, again, this is that avalanche. This is the one that you hit those high interest rates and the financial benefits that come with paying down the debt first, the big debt. This one here is a long-term strategy, okay? But it does have a lot of benefits in the end. And it can go quick because you're knocking out those big interest rates and you're not giving these financial institutions all of your money. Again, it's just another way. So if you compare them, it just depends on which one you want to tackle. No one can tell you what's right. I would say take a look at your debt and see if the majority of your debt is high interest, then you may want to go with the avalanche. If your debt is not high interest, then you may want to go with the snowball. But I'm giving you knowledge and information. You have to make that decision based on your debt and what's going to work for you. So then once we get this debt knocked out, how are we going to prevent future debt? So preventing future debt is about establishing healthy financial habits. That's the thing. We are not taught this stuff in school. So we create these habits based on the scripts that we get from our parents and the adults in our lives or other people. So those are, when you think about credit cards, you want to think about, okay, using those for emergencies and being responsible with that. Doing what you're doing now, this is going to help getting that financial literacy. By focusing on financial literacy, your education, you're going to empower yourself to make informed decisions that lead to that long-term financial stability. So again, you want to continue doing what you're doing now. You want to create those healthy habits. You want to avoid using those credit cards unnecessarily. And you want to keep that financial education going because this is not a one and done. This is something that you're going to continue to build on as time goes on. So let's talk about those high interest costs and the financial loss. Okay. When we take a close look at that interest cost and why everybody fusses over the interest rate, high interest debt can accumulate real quick. And so now we're going to look at an example. Okay. And people are like, well, how quick can this really happen? Let's take a look at this example. So we're going to really need to understand credit cards and how they work and how we're going to effectively manage them. Okay. So let's say hypothetically you have an $11,000 credit card balance and your annual percentage rate, the APR, is 29%. And this thing is going to compound monthly. And compounding means it's just going to grow. Okay, how often it's going to grow. And what does that really mean? Well, let me break it down to you like this. If you think about eating a pizza, if you have a pizza, a large pizza, or let's even go medium. I don't want to go overboard. Okay. Let's say you have a medium pizza January 1st. Well, you're not going to see anything change in your body. But let's say you have a pizza January 2nd, January 4th. If you eat a medium pizza every day up until December 31st, you're going to be big. Okay. All kinds of big lumps all over your neck, big body. That's just compounding. Day one, it's not going to affect you that much. Day two, so that's what compounding means. That's the same thing that happens to your interest. So in this instance, we're going to look at monthly, okay, compounding interest, that 29%. So the first thing we need to do is you have to convert that to month. So we take that 29% divided by 12. That's going to give you that 0.0241, which is 2.41% interest that you're going to be charged monthly. So now, month one, we started out with a balance of $11,000. Okay, that's our balance. Again, we're going to be charged 2.41%. So we're going to take that 11,000 times that 2.41%. That's going to give us $265.84 that we owe for that credit card or that financial institution. So that's 11,000. That's not what you're going to be paying. You're going to be actually paying 11,000 plus $265.84. So your actual starting balance is $11,265.84. That's actually where you're starting from. And then what is the minimum payment for that? Well, this credit card company or that financial institution is looking at 2.5%. We're looking at 2.5%, not added the 11,000 originally. We're looking at 2.5% of $11,265.84. And that is $281.65. So this is your first payment. So then we're going to take $281.65 off of 11,265.84. Remember, this is your new balance after interest was added for that month. So now you're walking away first month, and your new balance is $10,984.19. This is what your new balance is, not 11,000. And if you look at it, you only took some down. I mean, we're at $16 away from the original 11,000. So now your new balance going forward is $10,984.19. You're going to take that, and that's going to be calculated times that 2.41% interest. That gives you $265.45. So we take that, we add that to the original $10,984.19. And now we're back to $11,249.64. You take that number, we calculate the minimum payment due. That minimum payment is $281.24. That is the minimum payment. I know you've heard before, don't just make minimum payments, because you do, you can clearly see that you're not even moving forward that much. Okay. Now our balance going forward is $10,968.40. So we're going to take that new balance and we're going to multiply that new balance times that 2.41%. Okay, it's not going to be that $281 that it was last month, but as you can clearly see, it's not moving that fast. We're taking that 10,968 plus that 265.06. Our new balance, okay, that we're paying that 2.5% interest on is $11,233.46. We haven't even gotten out of the 11,000s yet. We're still in the 11,000s. So that payment is $280.84. $280.84 is what you're taking off of this. Now going forward, we're looking at $10,952.62. Okay, that's the new balance going forward. So over the last 3 months, if you add all of that up, you actually paid $843.73 over the last 3 months. And your balance is still $10,952.62. So this is what unfortunately happens when you just make the minimum payments and when you're not paying attention to your statements. Credit can be used for a lot of good things, but if you're just out there not practicing delayed gratification, it's going to eat you up. So this is just a quick example, understanding how credit cards can just get out of hand real quick. So understanding your payments. Interest is that extra money that you pay for borrowing. It can make debt grow larger over time real quick. So the thing that's going to help you is paying off debt very soon. You use it, pay it off each month, and then make sure you're budgeting it in. And the big one is know what your interest rates are, or it will just catch up to you real quick. Sorry, after that example, I want to do another quick one. Let's go 4 in, 8 out. A lot of times, as for me as well, because teaching these classes, it just brings you back to different times in your life where you may or may not have known this. All right, so let's talk about managing high interest rates. So some simple but effective ways to manage high interest rates is to make extra payments. As you saw in that last example, I know a lot of times people say, well, I don't have any extra money. Let me tell you something. $15, $20, $30, $50, $100 extra each month. Again, even if it's just $15, is going to go a long way. A lot of people don't even know this, but you can also negotiate for lower rates. You can actually call companies and just say, hey, listen, I'm struggling. Drop your pride and just tell them the whole story. Lay it out. A credit card company or a financial institution, they want to get something. Something is better than nothing. And a lot of times you actually find that they will be okay with lowering your rates. And then just reduce your overall total debt. As you're paying things off, it's going to get a lot easier because you're taking that extra cash and hopefully you're not going on a trip with it or blowing it. You're taking that extra cash and you're now just paying off those other debts. If you continue to do that, you're going to see that things are going to go away a lot quicker. Can't bury our head in the sand because that's not going to fix anything. And then what about balance transfer options and then consolidation? Those also work. You can look at getting some temporary relief by just transferring from one credit card to another credit card. Okay. But that can be a problem if you don't pay that debt off. A lot of times there's where new credit cards will give you 2 years of no payments or 0% interest. If you have a credit card that's charging you 29%, you can transfer that balance. That can get you in trouble because there's going to be something at the end of those 2 years if you don't pay it off. So that can be something that's attractive. Debt consolidation, there are companies out there that will work with you because they want to now get that interest rate from you, but they will help you consolidate your debt. And then you just need to understand what are the pros and cons behind it. Which one's going to work for you? Do you want to consolidate or do you want to just float a payment for 6 months up to 2 years? I don't think I've ever seen any credit cards going past 2 years where they're going to let you float those balances. But I would say do your research. And now, what are some other impacts of not taking care of your money? A lot of times it's going to limit, you know, your savings. How much money you can put towards savings because all of your extra money is going to paying down your debt. So what you want to do is you want to look at your budget and you want to make sure you prioritize what type of repayment you're going to do. Is it going to be the snowball? Is it going to be the avalanche? Or are you going to float payments? Are you going to do debt consolidation? You want to make sure you're taking care of this because there's going to be things that's going to pop up in your life, and these are called opportunities. When you have different opportunities, it keeps you motivated, whether that's buying gold and silver, whether that's real estate, whether that's getting into cryptocurrency. So you want to have a good, solid debt repayment plan and make sure you understand it so you can get to those different opportunities that present themselves when they do come up, because it does happen a lot. And unfortunately, a lot of times we just don't see them because we're focused this way and we don't see those opportunities smacking us right in the face. And now the biggest one, like I said, going back to the beginning when I talked about that unsecured debt, the only real big impact with that unsecured debt is, I mean, you may go to jail. That could potentially happen. But the big one is your credit score. That is the so what. And in the United States of America, it matters. That effective debt management is crucial for maintaining a good credit score. This will in turn influence the financial opportunities. Remember, there is no way around this. Debt management directly affects your credit score. No way around it. So you want to make sure you're on top of it. So getting a complete picture of your debt. How are we going to do that? And luckily we live in a century where we have all types of tools to help us understand that. The first one is we want to create that debt inventory checklist. So if you're looking at the budget that I gave you in the first advanced class, it's all there. You want to list all of your debt. This is going to include those interest rates, and you definitely want to track those due dates. You do not have to wait for the due date for you to make payments. You can actually make payments. Let's say your due date is the first of the month. You can make another payment mid-month. Again, even $15 makes a difference. You want to talk about creditors. Make sure you understand them. Make sure you understand all of your balances. And the big one out of all of this is interest rates. You need to know what someone is going to be charging you while you're borrowing their money, because it is someone else's money, even if it's on a credit card, someone else's money. It's not your money. And then tracking those due dates. And I'll put this together so you can see a quick one. Let's say we got Jim's Car Shack. That is our creditor. What type of debt is it? It's secured debt, and it's an installment loan because it's a car. And the current balance is $18,000 at 6% interest. And your minimum monthly payment is $581 and it's due on the first of the month. So since this is not a revolving debt, you can stick with your payments and be okay. There's nothing wrong with making extra payments for this automobile. Now, if this was revolving debt, I would actually definitely be paying it off sooner. Like I said before, we live in a time that there's all types of apps out there. They got budgeting apps, there's debt tracking tools, there's organizational benefits out there that come from using these apps. The thing is, they're going to help streamline everything. Don't get so draconian and locked into your own mindset that you're going to do things old school way, or I'm not willing to make changes. A lot of times, not willing to make change is the reason you got into the situation you're in with debt. So use the apps, use the tools that are out there. Now, like I told you before, we're going to go deep into mortgages, student loans, and business loans because these are some of the biggest loans that are out there that can affect people. Your mortgage is going to be one of your largest debts you have. Things to remember is this: it's a long term. So make sure you get a good interest rate when you're talking with different financial institutions. You do not have to get locked into anybody, because even if I don't want to go too deep into this, I'll do another class on feds and the federal rates. But if the federal rates are X, remember the financial institution, they're going to want to make a little bit of money as well. So they may have you pay for origination fee for a certain mortgage. Okay, so remember, talk to different financial institutions to make sure that you're getting a good overall rate. There's also refinancing benefits and then financial relief opportunities. So remember, having cash flow when you are doing all of this is paramount. That is, I cannot stress that enough. Exploring refinance options can lead to significant savings. If you start with one institution, that doesn't mean that you need to stay with that institution for 30 years. You can always look at refinancing and going somewhere else. So just remember that cash flow is king, because your mortgages is going to be should be a low interest loan. And you may or may not see over time that your loan may get sold to some different financial institutions. This can happen as soon as the first month. There's nothing wrong with you refinancing to create some extra cash flow for you that you can take that money and now pay down some other debt. Nothing wrong with that. Now let's talk about student loan. I will say this one, and I'm going to read this directly from the slide. It says, as of late 2024 and early 2025, student loans in the United States constitute a significant portion of the nation's debt. The total student loan debt, encompassing both federal and private loans, is approximately $1.77 trillion. I will say this: do your research, look at grants, look at who's helping with this. Don't just jump into getting student loans. Make sure that you're doing things the right way when it comes to student loans, because once you get them, the repayment plans can be ferocious, and it can be sometimes worse than the whole credit card thing, where you look like you're paying it down and each month your debt does not get any smaller. Okay, so just be careful when it comes to that. There are deferment options out there and there are forgiveness programs, but let's not even get into that. But if you do have it, remember, there are deferment options and there are forgiveness programs. A lot of times it just takes asking questions to get to a solution. And then that infamous business loan. If you are fortunate enough to get your debt paid off, to be in a good place with your mortgage, to have your student loans paid off, and you say, you know what, I want to jump into this American dream and I want to have a business. And then you get into a business loan. When it comes to business loans, you need to understand positive cash flow and profitability are the two most important things that's key when it comes to a business loan. Having profits coming in, being able to pay it down, and then also having that cash flow. Because cash is king in the United States of America. Cash is still king. All right, so moving on, we're going to do another 4 in, 8 out. All right, now we're going to go back to that savings. Why is it important to get that debt paid off? Because we want to have savings. We want to be able to put money somewhere just for a rainy day. And the importance of saving is this: having a savings plan is crucial for ensuring future financial security and peace of mind. Okay. That great emergency fund that I talked about in the last class. And you want to do this through having goal oriented savings. Don't just think, please do not think that we are that good as humans that we can just keep everything up here. It's got to be put down somewhere, whether it's an app, on a piece of paper, spreadsheet. You have to have goals. Gotta see goals listed somewhere. You want to have those valuable insights, customized strategies, and effective debt management. All of those things are going to get you to your end state where you want to be. Now, if you're in the military, a lot of the stuff is free. Seeking out financial advice and getting some credit counseling, it's all free to you. If you're not in the military, you have the internet at your disposal. You have social media. You have Chat GPT. Ask your questions there. But the information is out there. A lot of times you don't even have to pay people for this information. So get the information and get the knowledge. Now let's talk about encouragement. As you continue to move forward, you need to understand that you did not create this overnight, and you're not going to get rid of it overnight. This is a journey, and you need to take it as such. Think of it, it's a process. You have your kids watching you. As your kids get older, they're going to continue to watch how you're living. You have other people watching you, especially if you're a leader in the military. Use your checklist. Make sure you have a roadmap to follow. Don't just, again, don't think you can keep it up here. Excuse me, and it's going to work. Use the budget that I supplied for you. Your expense worksheet. This will ultimately lead you to that destination. It didn't happen overnight. It's not going to get fixed overnight. Enjoy this journey and get yourself out of debt if you're in debt. Say it's a great feeling to be there. The first step in all of this is acknowledging that there is a situation. Okay, now I'm going to use this one word here. I don't like to talk about it, but I'm going to tell you, not might this be a situation, it could be a problem. And then you want to commit to making a change and then track your progress as you move forward. That's what we always want to go, moving forward. Setting those goals have to be done with the acronym. I'm sure people have heard of the acronym SMART. Your goals need to be specific, measurable, achievable. Don't just say, well, I'm going to pay everything off in 2 months if you have millions of dollars in debt. Okay? It's not going to be achievable. Relevant and time bound. Give yourself some real, measurable, achievable time periods, whether that's 2 years, 3 years, and then you want to break down your debt in short term, long versus long term. Have some short term goals and also some long term goals. This may seem like homework, and that's okay. But this is the type of homework that's going to give you something that's worth everything: peace of mind. So have your short term, your long term goals. Make sure you're following the acronym SMART, and you will definitely get there. And so now, students, as we come to a close, I want you to think about this. You want to see progress. So track it. Track your progress. Celebrate those milestones. You want to go back over your goals and review to make sure that you're still on track. And the one big one, I know we love to keep people out of your business, but here's the thing. I have partners in everything that I do. I have accountability partners on everything, whether that's my spiritual journey, My one accountability partner that's going to definitely keep me on track is my wife. But a lot of times she may not see some things or may not want to bring something to her. Yes, I just said that. May not want to bring certain things to my wife. But to my peers, my military brothers and sisters, I use them as my accountability partners to keep me on track. That is huge. I'm definitely about keeping people out of my business, but I want somebody to know what I'm doing to keep me on track. Okay, so find an accountability partner, and that should be somebody that is not necessarily your spouse or your partner. Get somebody else that's willing to look you in your face and tell you when you're messing up, and also when you're doing good. That can be the person to go have that coffee with you when you're doing well to help you celebrate those little milestones. So, in conclusion, we talked about a lot today. We talked about the importance of debt management, different strategies that you're going to utilize, understanding how it impacts you, and then overall maintaining that motivation. You need to keep yourself motivated. The action item for you is to continue to track your budget and your expenses and take a look over the next 90 days and see how well you're staying on track. And here's the thing, keep yourself on track. You can use the snowball, you can use the avalanche method. If you have any questions about any of this, please reach out. The goal here is for all of us, not me, not you, not some of us, but for all of us to achieve that financial freedom. So let's keep reaching for that. I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you for listening, and God bless.